Hey guys, it's Alice again. So I thought that today we could talk about my experience of being on the contraceptive implant. Now, if you don't know what it is, I'm not a doctor, so I'm going to leave a link in the top line of the description from the NHS that explains it all in detail, but I'm just going to talk you through my experience with it. I have actually had the implant twice in my lifetime. I'm not currently on it now, so I can talk you through the insertion and like when it gets changed and when it gets taken out completely. And hopefully some of you guys find this video helpful if you're looking into it or if you've heard some horror stories or anything like that. I'm going to share with you my experience, and yeah, let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you do find it helpful, and subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. So let's get going. So I haven't really made a structure to this video. I thought I'd literally just sit down with you and talk you through the process of when I had my implant and what happened and how it worked for me. So I actually got my implant in December, I think, of 2012. I was 16 at the time and I just got a boyfriend, so I wanted to be safe. So I actually got it put in when I was 16, and the insertion was like completely fine. I went to the doctor's, I think on a Friday, and I got given my prescription and I collected the implant itself, and it was in like a big box and it came with its own little like needle insertion-y thing, and I took that home, and then on the Monday I went back to my doctor's, took my implant thing with me, and then my doctor inserted it. They actually do it under like a little local anaesthetic. I think it's local, when they just numbed my arm a little bit basically. So I laid on the bed of the doctor's surgery and I had my arm up like this, and because I'm right-handed they put it in my left arm and they put a little numbing injection in my arm, and within like 5 minutes my whole entire arm was numb, so I couldn't feel a thing. And then after that I could feel the pressure of it, like I could feel something touching me, but it wasn't pain at all, it was completely fine. And the next thing I knew, it was in and we were fine. So I got that inserted on that Monday, and for the rest of that week my arm was super duper tender, and I was obviously left with a little bit of a hole, so I had like a big plaster on and I was allowed to keep that on for the whole 24 hours, and then I had to keep another dressing on just for the week, and I couldn't get it wet. So it wasn't like a regular injection, you did have to look after it a little bit better just to prevent infections, but it wasn't anything like super traumatizing at all. It was just a bruise and a bit of tenderness. It wasn't something too like dramatic or painful, so that was something I was pretty pleased about. I did just have to be careful about what I did with my arm, because as the numbing stuff wore off, the pain did sort of come. It wasn't like unbearable. I didn't take any extra medicine for it or anything. I just was a bit careful and wary of what I did with my arm. So I think after about 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, I found that my periods had become like irregular, and I was kind of very slightly on, and that just wasn't suiting me at all. It was just really annoying to have a period constantly, especially to say I was in sixth form. It just wasn't good. Like, who would want that? So I went back to the doctors and said, look, my periods are all the time, can you do something about it? And they actually gave me an additional pill of some sort. It's actually the mini pill, I can't remember the exact name of it, but I ended up on the mini pill, which I took every day, just one a day, and then on the week that I went on my period I stopped taking it. And because I was on the implant, it kind of does seem stupid taking another pill on top, but the other pill was just to control my periods, and because it wasn't solely just the pill, I didn't have to remember to take it at a particular time on a particular day, and it wasn't going to be like the end of the world if I forgot to take it for one day, which is why I didn't initially go on the pill in general, because I'm so bad at remembering to take medicine and I know that wouldn't work for me. So I ended up on 2 forms of contraception in the end, and that worked pretty well. I managed to, every time I stopped, within a few days I came on my period, I had a normal period, and then I started taking them again, so that was really, really good. Then about a year into me having my first implant, I actually had stopped taking the extra mini pill because I don't know, I must have forgot and I couldn't be bothered, or I don't know, I stopped for some reason. And then it turned out I kind of missed a period, so I was like, oh crap. So naturally I was with my boyfriend, we thought something was wrong, so I got a pregnancy test, and it turns out it wasn't actually anything to do with that. It was in fact my implant. Actually, it stopped my period. So I originally was freaking out because I didn't know what had stopped my periods, but it turns out it was the implant. So after that, after about a year, my period stopped completely, and it was great because I didn't have any periods. I didn't like have any like major mood swings or anything like that, like other than the relationship being really crap. Like the implant and the contraception was great. So yeah, after that, that was fine. I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend. There's a whole another video on that and we don't want to talk about it, but I ended up keeping the implant in. I wasn't planning on sleeping around, but I thought it's there, I might as well keep it, and it's stopping my period, so why not? So I actually kept that one in for the whole 3 years and got it changed. I'm presuming I got it changed in 2015 in December or October or something, I don't know. And I got another one put in, so that process was pretty similar. I laid on the doctor's surgery table, they numbed my arm, and this time the doctor actually poked me. I didn't know this at the time, but she poked me with a scalpel, and she just like pressed this part of my arm, and I could feel the sharpness of the scalpel. Obviously she wasn't cutting me, she was just like jabbing me, like it was like the tip of a pen or something. She was like, can you feel this? And I was like, yeah. And then she poked the bit that she numbed, and I literally couldn't feel a thing. She was like, there we go, you're numb, let's do it. So she chopped, that sounded really violent. She doesn't chop, it's okay, it's not brutal, I promise. She cut a very small little nick on my arm. I'm actually going to insert a clip of my like arm, because there is like tiny little scars from it, and it might make sense, so I'm going to film that. But there's a tiny little line on my arm now, which is where she cut, and she just uses like tiny little tweezers and kind of pinches the end of the implant that's in there and pulls it out. Sometimes the implant does gain like a little covering of, I don't know what it is, like fat, I guess, from your body. Like your body kind of keeps it there, so it had like a covering on mine, so it did take her a little bit of extra like poking around to get it, but I didn't feel a thing. I was just laid there having a good time. Not really having a good time, but I wasn't having a bad time, so that's all right. And she took it out, and then just below the cut that she did, she used the same machine that they did the first time and inserted another one, and that was it. And I just, for some reason I bleed a lot when I get cut, so they had to put like steri strips on me, so I got 2 steri strips on that cut, 2 steri strips on the other one, and then a big bandage like before, and then they wrapped it up. I actually ended up going to visit my granddad, who was in hospital at the time, and the bandage that they wrapped up on my arm actually ended up being a bit too tight, so I looked down at my hand, and because my hand was still numb, my hand was blue and I couldn't feel it, and I was like, oh okay, I think my bandage is too tight. So we ended up taking that bandage off early, and I just kept the big plaster on and didn't get it wet like I did the time before, and it was fine. Same thing happened again. I didn't really have any periods, so it just kind of continued on from the last one, and I actually ended up taking that second one out early. I took that out maybe after like 1.5 years or 2 years, and they usually last 3 years, so having it taken out early was a little bit trickier because I had to give a reason as to why, and we had to go somewhere else, and my doctors couldn't fit me in. So the reason we got it took out early was we thought that it was affecting my migraines, because I seemed to be getting a lot more. Turns out it wasn't, so if you suffer from migraines, for me the implant didn't affect them, so that's good. So we took them out, partly because I didn't have a relationship, I wasn't sleeping around, didn't need any contraception. I wanted my body to be free of like drugs and stuff for a little bit, just because, I don't know, and my migraines were messing up, so we took it out. That actually got taken out at a clinic. It wasn't at my doctor's, it was like one of those sexual health clinics, I guess, and me and my mum went along. Same thing happened again. They numbed my arm and they cut it out. This time it did take a little bit longer for her to get it out. I think like the coating thing that your body does was a little bit more this time, but it didn't hurt. I wouldn't say that I was a little bbit anxious. Like what she was doing didn't hurt at all, but because I knew what she was doing, I was like overthinking it, so I was a little bit like flustered. I had a sweaty back so I was just laid there like and she did it, and again I was bleeding a little bit too much because it's me, and they just put steri strips on, put the thing on, wrapped it up, and there we go. That is literally what happened with me with having the implant. It stopped my periods. It didn't really cause any mood swings or anything like that. I ended up having to have the mini pill to start off with, but other than that it worked really well. I actually have to have the implant because I have migraines and I can't use estrogen based contraceptions. I have to use pro-estrogen based contraceptions, and so that's what I got offered by my doctor, and it worked really well, and I liked that I didn't have to remember to think about like putting anything in, and as soon as it gets taken out your fertility returns back to normal. Not that I need to know about that right now, but it's nice to know if you need to know. But yeah, it just worked really well for me, and I wouldn't be against having another one. I'm not sure how I would go about that process. I don't know if they'd give me another one, seeing as I took the second one out early, but I wouldn't be against that. I'd totally recommend it to anyone. Even if you're scared of needles, I took my friend who was also really scared of needles, and she said for that very tiny little bit of like trauma of having a needle in your arm, it was worth it in the end. So if you're worried about that, just try and talk to some people and you'll be okay. Just take a friend, squeeze the hand really tight, and you can do it yeah, that's it. So I hope this video was helpful. Didn't have any structure at all. I just told you what I thought about it. Yeah, if you have any questions or anything that I missed off, let me know down in the comments and I'll make sure I reply to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it and if it was helpful, don't forget to press that thumbs up button. It means a lot to me, and I will see you very, very soon with another video. Bye!